Good evening, everybody. My name's Tom Stoukas, coming to you from Sarnia, Ontario. July 23rd, Wednesday. Uh, Pretty nice day today, actually, in southwestern Ontario. Yesterday, too, but it's supposed to get gross hot again, so we'll see. Summer's just flying right by. Uh, so, what's going on today? Today was the final day of our premiers, our great leaders meeting in Huntsville, cottage country. Um, and I really don't understand. I think it's just because I think they needed to show that they were doing something ahead of the Donald Trump's deadline for the tariffs. That they said, let's get together in the Muskoka and pretend we're doing stuff. I didn't really see much out of that. They talked about lots of different things, like how they're doing all these sorts of deals together, and they did this photo op signing memorandums of understanding with the. I mean, you guys are in the same country. I don't know why you're making a big deal out of this. Business deals in your own country, man. One deal, it's funny that BC, Alberta, and Ontario signed a deal. No, BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Ontario signed a deal for railway connection. Like last time I checked, there's already a railway connection. John A. McDonald built it, but also Manitoba didn't sign it. So it's like, what are you gonna do? The railway around there? It's like, and then Manitoba saying how they won't agree to pipelines unless Indigenous groups sign off on it, and BC's being all commie, and it's a it was me. I don't take this seriously at all. Like, if these guys govern their provinces any as bad as Doug Ford's governed Ontario, then I have no faith in any of them. And they barely talked about anything except for how they're supposedly um, making Canada a better place to work and do business and that, which they probably should have been doing 20 years ago instead of waiting for Donald Trump to call them out. It's their job to make the country run properly, not to have a 3 day summit and think you're pretend you're doing stuff to fix it. But they like barely mentioned they mentioned immigration on the final day today, and barely. We'll talk about that later. And then they didn't even mention housing. Like, housing is a problem all over Canada. You got 11 all the premiers in one spot. Housing prices are an issue in every province, and I don't even think they said anything about housing at all in the 3 days. Barely anything about crime, bail system. They supposedly talked about the bail system today. So what did they talk about for 3 days? Like, in a luxury resort in luxury cottage country. Like, really? Like, Toronto is full of government buildings. You guys couldn't drive to Toronto? Like, you had to meet in cottage country, and you had all your police force there. It's a joke. Carney showed up. We'll talk about that. I'm just gonna go through the tweets, and then uh, saw today in the immigration file. A lot of stuff happened in immigration in Canada that actually might lead to real real change. But there was a report today that government's, and we all knew this, but they're spending billions on hotels for asylum seekers and migrants. Um, Billions. It's crazy. And that's just for hotel rooms. There's still other things like food, spending, walking around money, and other all sorts, plus health care, all that stuff. So if you think the billion ain't no big deal for the housing, it is a big deal, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff on top of that. So, but that amidst a poll too, new polls showing like more and more Canadians are against immigration, like basically almost any immigration. Like right now, they want like a total freeze on it or cap. And I saw there's this new group, the Dominion Society of Canada, which is kind of like, it's not a political party, but it's like an interest group, but it's more for traditional Canadian, like obviously the name Dominion. So the more the Canada, the pre-globalist Canada, like when Canada was a good country actually. So it's kind of like an advocacy group for Canadians, and I know they're going to be targeted as a racist far right fight club like the CBC did for the other guys. So it'll be interesting to see, because they're pretty good. Their message is good. It's pretty direct, but it's, if you would have said it 10 years ago, you would have been called a total racist. And now it's starting to break through. But it'll be interesting to see if the government goes after it, especially with this online, if they go after, try to do an online policing internet act to go after us shit posters. They might. So they're putting out some good stuff, this Dominion Society. So worth keeping an eye on. And with the immigration, like even Doug Ford, that weasel, said today on the final day of the premier's meeting, oh, we gotta get immigration under control. Ontario's got too many, and it's like, man, you were premier for the last 7 years. You didn't say a word. In fact, you wanted them. You were bragging how everybody from around the world wanted to come to Ontario after the disastrous Liberal governments. And then you got in, and everybody from India wanted to come to Ontario because of you. You actually were bragging about that. Now you're saying, oh, we've got to cut down on immigration. Like, you're the one who's slopping at the Indian, whatever, the temples that they wearing. Like, you're the one doing the pandering, just like Pierre. And now it's like, you ignore the crime. You're working with Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland, who are directly responsible for this, and you are too, because you brought a lot into Ontario without a fight, without saying anything. And now, because the polls are saying Canadians have had enough of it, and that you're probably going to run for the leadership, you got to come out as this anti-immigrant guy? Like, come on. He's doing the same thing as Pierre. Changing their message because the polls showing people are against mass immigration. These guys are phonies. They're frauds. It's disgusting. First Pierre, now Doug Ford. I give Maxime Bernier credit when it was difficult. I remember he was calling out years ago, like 6, 7, 8 years ago. And he was called all sorts of bad names. And now these guys, Doug Ford and Pierre, come in now when it's safe to say the words. It's safe, and then they come in. It's ridiculous. It makes me sick to my stomach, really. And people believe it or they buy it. I don't know. But it's ridiculous. So that's my thoughts. Like, basically, it was a big circle jerk for 3 days. I don't think they got anything done. And then also they didn't talk about housing. They barely talked about immigration. Barely talked about bail reform. I don't know what the hell they did for 3 days. Just pat each other on the back. It's ridiculous. And Doug Ford, like, bizarre comments about him and Carney spending the night together. Who knows? Who knows? All right. So, all right. So we'll go to this premier's meeting first. So this is on the final day of the 3-day meeting. Before they opened the meeting, it was all like big photo, big video, produced slick video and showing how awesome it was. Ridiculous. But anyway, look at this tan on this guy. Where's he been? He's been like literally at the cottage, or is that a spray tan like a Donald Trump special? Look at it. And then He's got like the bleach hair. Like I'm sure he uses the anti-gray stuff. But anyway, the point is look at this fool we got leading us. I really am having this guy's premier is on. Oh my God, 7 years of disaster. Anyway, this is what I said before. For final day of the premier's meeting. According to Premier Doug Ford, Etobicoke, Ontario, hotels are filled with asylum seekers sucking the system dry with a full expenses paid 2-year vacation courtesy of the Canadian taxpayer. Just last year, we had almost 100,000 asylum seekers enter the province of Ontario. So he's talking about asylum seekers coming to Ontario, but he's not talking about the like millions of Indians that have come to Ontario on student visas, which are on Ontario jurisdiction. Temporary foreign workers. I know it's a federal thing, but the point is he hasn't said anything about immigration. In fact, he's encouraged it, and he's pandered to ethnic groups who want more of it. So he's a traitor. He showed with COVID he's a traitor. He showed with the immigration file he's a traitor. And now he's acting all like he's talking like Maxime Bernier now. I mean, it's so disingenuous. It's ridiculous. Let's see what this fat turd. He should try losing some weight instead of eating all the. Who knows how many donuts and who knows the hot dogs and beer he's been drinking. Okay.
Better than the premiers, and by no means, I want to emphasize this. No one understands their sectors and their labor force better than the premiers. And by no means, I want to emphasize this, it's no means the Prime Minister's, well, this is issue right now, but this has been going on for decades. I'll give you an example. I have a tremendous amount of asylum seekers that
your buddy Freeland sent them.
And in the hotels, they're healthy, they're willing to work, they're hardworking people, but they're waiting over 2 years. And they're just sucking off the system nonstop, not their fault. The fault falls under immigration, that it takes over 2 years to get a work permit. So as we're paying education, paying healthcare, paying their rent and hotels, which is exorbitant, they want to get out there and they want to be like every other Canadian. They want to find a job. They want to be able to first start off renting a condo or part of a house and then buying a house. But we're tired of waiting around. I can't wait around. It's costing our province an absolute fortune. Just last year, we were close to 100,000 asylum seekers, and I'm still waiting to get paid back from the federal government.
So basically, he's not even saying anti-immigration. He actually wants the government to do it quicker. He's like, get these guys out of hotels, get them processed so they can start working and become Canadians. So instead it's like, hey, let's close the border. Let's not let them land at Pearson Airport and declare asylum. Let's prevent them from getting on the plane. Let's deport people that aren't supposed to be here. No, he's saying, Doug Ford's saying here, ooh, let's get them out of the hotels and get them into Canada forever. That's your premier, your anti-immigrant premier. I don't know. I thought he was saying something. So he basically was just criticizing the government, saying they're too slow and not processing. He process them quicker so they can come in and start paying taxes. That's even worse. Yeah. I'm sorry, I misunderstood that. I thought he was going after immigrants, but no, he's going after the government to get more immigrants, to do it quicker. What a piece of shit. All right. Let's go to this. Like I said, this premier's meeting, it was garbage. It was garbage. It was just a photo op, just a bunch of press releases for some garbage memorandums. Didn't barely talk about the real problems facing everyday Canadians, which is, when you get all the premiers in the same room, that's probably what you want to talk about. It's not about, sure, you want to talk about the economy and the tariffs, but you got huge issues like pretty sure people are worried about affording a place to live, or a tariff on some American or some other, what I mean. You know what I mean. So this is what confused me. Ontario Premier Doug Ford, at the closing news conference for the Council of the Federation, takes aim at the federal government's immigration policies. He says the Prime Minister and his immigration minister need to get onto the same page. They're looking for greater control over immigration targets, and Ontario will start issuing its own work permits. So basically he's saying, Doug Ford is saying, the federal government isn't processing asylum seekers and refugees and just migrants in general fast enough, so Doug Ford's going to give them work permits. So I totally misread. I thought he was saying for the government to be anti-immigrant, like cut down immigration. He wants it sped up. He just wants to do it quicker, it seems. Holy. That's horrible. And people still vote for him. I don't know. Like, he's trying to get the liberal vote, it looks like, apparently. Yeah. There's Doug Ford there. This one thing from the... This is the... He's doing the same slop he did on Trudeau and Freeland with Mark Carney. Like this, when Carney was at the Premier's meeting on Tuesday. Listen to the way he talks.
Take the business approach to our federal government that we haven't seen for a long time. It's refreshing to some of us that have been around this table for some time to have a prime minister that has our backs, that are out there. He's a great community builder, and he's a brilliant businessman. And I'm confident that he's going to take the business approach to our federal government that we haven't seen for a long time.
Well, we'll see. So, yeah. And then he had something else saying, it was weird. Premier Doug Ford said PM Mark Carney stayed at his cottage last night and that they stayed up until 12:30 by the fireplace solving the world's problems. Ford then waxes poetic about the PM. So, yeah, that's what they did for 3 days, is pat each other on the back and say, oh, how great they're. Like, it's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. I don't know what to say. Okay, so that's the Premier's meeting. I mean, basically they said they're going to do all these projects. Haven't seen any, so we'll see. And we'll see how the trade talks and all that. But for me, this 3-day meeting was just fluff. I think they just did it because they knew they had to show that they were doing something ahead of this trade stuff. So the next, look at this, the immigration file. Let's just go on the immigration file. So there's a Dominion Society of Canada. Problem isn't just illegal immigration, it's legal immigration too, yeah. So we got Doug Ford, Premier of the biggest province, saying basically we need to do more immigration. And here's a picture of him that I did with Grog, him and Carney by the fireplace. Yeah, it's like Brokeback Queen's Park. But anyway, I'm just joking. So, illegal immigration too. And sorry, there's the premiers, there's the group photo. And I'm telling you, like, I'm looking at this picture and I'm not looking very inspired. Maybe Danielle Smith, she looks all right. She looks like she sounds like she knows what she's talking about. But the rest, bunch of clowns. Bunch of COVID commie clowns. I remember. Look at Doug Ford. Look at this guy. Does that look like a guy who you're going to trust to lead you? I don't know, man. There's something off about him lately. Look at him. He's fake. Did he get surgery or something? There's Scott Moe, his buddy. Both COVID commie. And then She's a crazy one, this one. I don't like her at all. Then Wob, always with that stupid smile. And then the French guy. That's the guy. I don't trust that guy at all. This guy probably... Who the hell is that guy? Jesus, where's Ebby? Ebby's not in the picture. What a prick. Alright. Okay. Here's Dominion Society of Canada.
That's
Just an
another thing
example of
that
one of their
needs to die.
videos.
Killed publicly in the public square. Right-wingers seem to always be, especially in Canada, they're always stuck in the liberal framework of the conversation. And that's another thing that just needs to die, that needs to be killed publicly in the public square, metaphorically, of course, I mean. But this idea that, like, being worried about being called racist, like, you need to cut that crap out of your psyche completely, cut it out, stop it. It's a way more of an existential crisis here. If you're still worried about being called names, you're not going to make it, okay? You're not going to make it. And you might say, but I'm not actually racist. We should be. If you meaningfully criticize multiculturalism or the immigration policies or call for remigration or call for deportation or make any sort of meaningful statements, any sort of meaningful confrontation on this topic, you are going to get called racist. Saving the nation coincides with going to war with the mainstream media in Canada and getting mud slung at you and all these like silly names like racist, which are really holding less and less water. I think. Would you agree that Canadians are caring less and less about being called racist? What are you seeing in your experience?
So yeah, so it's interesting to see these kinds of videos and this kind of group forming, because I'll tell you right now, 5-10 years ago, you'd probably get suspended off the social media, you'd get called all sorts of names, you'd get doxxed, so canceled. So it's quite the change in atmosphere that people are starting to call out the lies that they've been told all these years, how great multiculturalism, diversity, and DEI, and all that woke crap is. People are starting to figure out on a mass scale. Hopefully it translates into the leadership, not just MPs, but MPPs, school boards, trustees, mayors, councillors, dog catchers, whoever. Okay. So here's the story. Canada's now spending 1.1 billion per year. So we have a crisis here in housing. People can't. I don't even believe it's a lack of housing, because I was in London today, London, Ontario, and they were building houses like there's no tomorrow. So it's not a lack of housing, it's affording the housing. And while Canadians struggle to get a house or rent a house or buy a house that they can afford, we're spending over $1 billion on hotels for asylum seekers. And you know how these asylum seekers come into Canada? They don't come in by the southern border like the U.S. They fly in. I don't know how the hell they do it, but they fly in, probably on some kind of tourist visa, and then as soon as they get at Pearson, they declare asylum. And the minute they do that, they're in until they have their hearing, and that's years. Okay, so our hotels are filling up with us footing the bill because we're letting them fly into Canada. Somehow they get on the plane, and they get this. I don't know. Maybe they don't even need a visa. They just figure they get there, they don't have a visa, and then they declare asylum. Who knows? It's some kind of scam. And to pay $1 billion a year, it's unsustainable. And remember, it's not just the hotel rooms we're paying for. It's food, it's healthcare, it's schools, all sorts of things. And a growing number of those asylum seekers from India. I know India's a shithole, but it doesn't mean you're a refugee. So here's most Canadians still think Canada accepting too many immigrants, according to a new poll. So yeah, that's why Doug. I thought Doug Ford was calling for less immigration. He's just talking about for faster, to do it faster and more efficiently. What a little fat traitor that guy is. But most Canadians still think Canada is accepting too many immigrants. So I don't know. Okay. So basically, that's all he has to say out of 3 days meetings, where people are the biggest on Premier, the biggest province. Three days of meetings where people in Canada are struggling, and the biggest issues are mass immigration and high housing, and they barely talked about either one. All he talked about is how to get more refugees processed quicker. It's not. He's definitely a progressive conservative. That's for sure. You're not a conservative. Okay. Next one, Brampton. Our Brampton issue here. Brampton man charged with dangerous operation of a motor vehicle and stunt driving. 56-year-old Ranjit Singh. Yeah, this is kind of a viral thing. So, he's a traffic cutter. He didn't want to wait in traffic, so he went on the sidewalk. And I guess that's how they can do it in India. But they don't do that in Canada. Because you see that sidewalk, could have been a person on that sidewalk. Let's see. Welcome to Brampton. Welcome to Brampton. And I still have this story about this guy, this Indian guy, at my dentist. So the dentist is in the same plaza as a restaurant. This Indian dude's a cook at the restaurant, and he parks right in front of the dentist every day, just so he can just short walk into the kitchen door. And there's the handicap spot, and then 2 spots in that, and there's a dentist and a vet, and the stupid guy parks in front of it every day. I pass it, and his car's there all day. And, people bring their kids to this dentist. They don't, if they can park out right in front of it, it's better. Anyway, this is the kind of thing that pisses me off. Driving on sidewalks, taking up parking spots that they shouldn't. Very, very disrespectful. Next, Daniel Thierry. He's the looks like the principal organizer for Dominion, the Dominion Society. See, I like the name. Ottawa spends billions on asylum seekers, most of which are just illegal immigrants, while Canadians struggle. We must stop entertaining this charade and enforce our borders. So Ottawa's hotel bill for asylum seekers. So like I said, they literally fly into Canada, most of the asylum seekers, which is ridiculous. At least in the U.S., they have to go down across the Mexican desert and use cartel traffickers. Here, just fly right in. Here's see about the homes. Let's roll out the red carpet and sell our new homes to foreign investors. That's the latest idea being pushed by Canada's home building industry. And I saw, like I said, all these houses being built in London, Ontario. Like, who's buying these houses? Who's got money for these houses? So maybe it's foreign investors. Okay. So man charged following viral video of him driving on sidewalk in Brampton. As well, he should be charged, yes. Next, on the home front, more renters, fewer homeowners. This is a global trend. It's what happens when homes become financialized. When demand from investors, foreign investors in Canada's case, outpaces demand from end users. The next generation gets shut out of home ownership. So yeah, we're becoming landless serfs in our own country. And I think, you got to find someone who's going to, a political party or somebody who's going to vow to change that. Like, I don't know if they're going to be able to change what's, it's horrible. If you have all the companies owning the housing, it's basically back to the Middle Ages. The Liberal government has spent $1 billion on migrants since 10th. Okay, so basically it says 1.1 billion since 2017, along with 1.5 billion to help provinces with upkeep. So it's still a lot of money. $3 billion. Okay, according to a recent Leger poll, 60% of Canadians want less immigration. For more than just economic reasons. Immigration is eroding trust in our society. Like I talked about the parking lot, dude. The parking spot. Trust. Remigration is the solution. Alright. Concerns over domestic intergroup tensions may be more important factor in concern with levels than has been previous. So social cohesion, basically, is fraying in Canada. Another sexual assault in the subway. Yeah. Police release image of suspect in subway sexual assault. It's like, you see these every week. Poor girls can't go on the subway or the bus now. It's ridiculous. I don't think it ever was like that before. Like, literally can't get on the damn subway. Okay. And Doug Ford still hasn't said anything about the poor lady got killed in North York by some scumbag, little wannabe gangsta. Of course he's not going to say anything because the kid probably lives in his riding. So, anyway. And what's also on the thing to round off the day, so we got our premier's meeting wrap up, and then of course our regular immigration bitch fest. What else are you going to talk about? And housing. And also another thing to keep an eye on is Tamara Lich and Chris Barber are in Ottawa. They have 2 days of hearings for their sentencing. I didn't think the sentencing was that extensive, that they needed 2 days for their mischief charge. So apparently the judge is showing like interest in the kind of like why the Crown wants such a harsh sentence. So that's kind of seen as good for them, that the judge doesn't look like a total asshole. So tomorrow's the second day, and I don't know if they'll issue the sentence tomorrow. That would be kind of cool. I'm very interested to see what the judge will give them. So it's crazy that, given all the horrible stories you see every day happening in Canada, and each day you get shocked more. Like, you think just when you can't get shocked, you hear something more shocking. So when you hear that every day, and then you see these two getting threatened with years in jail, it's crazy. And there's people on X, a lot of people on X I saw, who are like, oh, they need to go to jail. They believe they deserve what they're getting, and it's like, wow. It's like, we got to live with these guys, man. So hopefully they don't get any time. Hopefully it gets at least like suspended sentence. I know they got convicted, but at least a suspended sentence is the very least they should get. Like, they shouldn't even get anything, but let's say a suspended sentence. So basically they wouldn't go to jail. Time served, whatever. But if they get like 2-3 years, this should be a riot as far as I'm concerned. There should be a big riot. I guess I shouldn't say that, but I don't think they'll get 2-3 years or more than that. I don't even think they'll get any time. I'm going to predict it, no time served. Because any judge with a brain would say, yeah, this is ridiculous. Why I shouldn't even be listening to this stupid case. So that's my prediction. So we'll see tomorrow if there's a decision. And yeah, I don't know what else is on tomorrow, Thursday. We'll be here tomorrow to cover anything that comes up. We might have to make something up. All right. So until then, you guys have a nice night.